NFL Week 9 is here, and the Miami Dolphins need to make a couple changes, specifically on the defense if they want to turn this group around. And it's hard to say turn the group around because they've been good mostly all year long, but they were so bad against the Arizona Cardinals and a electric offense that it kind of aired out and exposed some of the weaknesses on this team. And these two changes that we're going to talk about are absolutely critical for the Dolphins if this defense wants to rise to that top tier in the NFL and help this offense really turn things around as well. But make sure you do share the video, and it helps us quite a bit to spread the word here at Dolphins Today. Click the share button, select Twitter/X icon, click post to Twitter/X. You could also put on Facebook. You can send it to a friend or family member on text. Just help us out, spread the word. Let's get 30 shares on today's show. All right, there's two changes needed. The first one that we're going to talk about, and it's a switch at the linebacker position. The Dolphins have primarily played David Long Jr. and Jordan Brooks as their two linebackers all year long. Well, I think they need to play Anthony Walker Jr. over David Long Jr. going forward. Because when you look at what this team has done, and specifically at some of the players, David Long Jr. has been bad this year. And it's been really rough over the past couple of weeks. And I want to share a disturbing statistic with some of you guys. According to Pro Football Focus, they are not gospel, but they do give a little bit of an insight. David Long Jr. is the 148th graded linebacker in all football. There's 154, which means he is the sixth worst linebacker in all of football. And how can you blame Pro Football Focus? Because the eye test matches what we've seen on the field as well. And the grades that he has been given are absolutely horrific. 37 overall, 41 against the run, a tackling grade of 27, which is crazy. It's crazy. And the worst part, which we'll talk more in depth on in just a second, is the coverage grade of 39.2, which I'm shocked it's as high as it is. And you might say 39.2 is high. When we show the coverage stats in just a second, you'll understand why this should be in the 20s and maybe even in the teens. He's been that bad defensively. But let me know your quick thoughts on the matter. B. McDaniel, B. Anthony Weaver. Should the Miami Dolphins bench David Long Jr.? He signed a 2-year, $11 million deal in free agency before the 23 season. He did not have the season that we expected in 23-24, and he has had a horrific start this year. Should they bench him, or should they continue to start him? Let me know your thoughts down below. Well, you already know my opinion. He needs to be benched. He has not been good in the run game. He has missed tackles left and right, and his tackling percentage is something out of this world. Like, it's hard to believe this when you look at what he has done this year for the Miami Dolphins. He has missed an absurd amount of tackles. Exactly has been 14. He's missed 14 tackles so far. The Dolphins have played 7 games, and he missed a game, by the way. He missed that Monday Night Football game against the Titans. So he's missed 14 tackles in 6 games. Just for reference, in a full season, the most amount of missed tackles David Long Jr. has had in his career is 17. He's on pace to miss 28 tackles. That is 11 more than his previous career high. And his missed tackle percentage is 28%, which means he's missing 28% of tackles he should be bringing down. Like, the tackling has been horrific for him. And the calling card for Long Jr. is his ability to cover and stop in the run, be versatile in both games. But the coverage numbers have been even worse than his missed tackle percentage, which is hard to do considering he's had 14 missed tackles already. But look at the coverage stats. He is allowing a completion percentage of 95%. He has allowed 22 receptions and 23 targets. His QB rating allowed is 125.7. It is abysmal from what we've seen from David Long Jr. He can't stop the run. He can't cover. He is unplayable. Folks, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. It is absolute insanity to keep on trotting out David Long Jr. every Sunday, every Thursday, every Monday, whenever the Dolphins play, and expect him to turn it around, because it's very evident in the first 6 games that he's played this year, he is simply not that guy. He is a bad coverage linebacker. He can't stop the run, and he needs to get benched. He simply is not cut out to be a lead linebacker. Jordan Brooks has been your best linebacker this year. Have him assume LB1 role. And how about we give a different look to Anthony Walker Jr.? And we'll talk about him in just a second. But we are sponsored by Game Time, the #1 ticketing app out there. And if you want to go see a live sporting event, a comedy show, concert, theater, it does not matter. Make sure you get your tickets with Game Time. They have so many great features, one of them being Game Time Picks. Filters out the fluff to show you only incredible great deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Also have all-in pricing. Shows you the exact price of your ticket up front rather than getting blindsided at checkout. You can also get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you're not going to be sitting behind a pole, a stanchion, and get blindsided. No, you get to see exact vantage point of your venue. Download the app. I use Game Time to get my tickets when I've gone to 3 events in the past 3 months. NLCS Game 4 and 5, and Week 1 LSU USC in college football. Use Game Time to get those tickets all 3 times. I implore you guys to do the same. Download the app and use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only, but code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time. It's time to give Anthony Walker Jr. a shot and see what he can do. It just simply can't get worse from David Long Jr. And that's what makes this so intriguing to me. Because you might say Anthony Walker Jr. isn't that good of a linebacker. You might be right. But the fact of the matter is it can't get worse from David Long Jr., who has been in the bottom 6 of the entire NFL this year. We just watched David Long Jr. this past week against Arizona get absolutely targeted when guarding Trey McBride. And I get it. McBride's a good tight end and athletic. But David Long Jr.'s coverage stats against Arizona, we showed it for the season, he gave up 8 catches for 83 yards on 8 targets. He simply can't defend anymore. And Anthony Walker Jr., even though his numbers this year have not been as good as what we would have expected or hoped, but guess what? He has had a good career in the past in terms of his pass coverage grade, which we'll talk about in a second. But he's at least been better in the run game. He's played 125 snaps, which is about 45% of David Long Jr. Long has played about 250, 260 snaps this year, so Walker's played about just under half of that. And his coverage grade and stats aren't that fantastic, but he's not getting absolutely lit up. He's had not as many coverage stats, about 40, 2 receptions on 2 targets, 18 yards. So he's given about 9 yards per completion compared to David Long Jr. giving 11.2 yards per catch. Hasn't allowed a touchdown, and the QB rating is much lower. But the reason why I think the small sample size might actually hurt Anthony Walker Jr. in this case is because with the Cleveland Browns over the past 3 seasons, he has been spectacular against the pass. It has been one of the best coverage guys in all of the NFL. That's why I was so excited about him being signed, because you got Brooks, who's a thumper, a good run stopper and blitzing linebacker. You have Walker Jr. as a coverage guy, and David Long Jr. as a projected do-it-all guy. I thought you were going to have a great linebacker trio, but Long Jr. has been so bad that you might only have a duo because Brooks has done his part, but we haven't seen enough of Anthony Walker Jr. And like I mentioned, over the past 3 years, these are his coverage grades according to PFF. 76.8, 90, 78.2. He has been one of the highest graded coverage linebackers in all of football. He has decent speed. He has the ability to cover tight ends and running backs in spot situations. I don't think he's going to lock them down consistently, but he can do a better job than what David Long Jr. has been doing. I think the Dolphins need to switch it up, and like I have mentioned a couple times, it can't get worse than what it has been. Why not see what you have in Anthony Walker Jr. instead of David Long Jr.? David Long is a free agent at the end of the year. You're going to let him walk. Might as well see what happens when you play Anthony Walker Jr. That's what I would do. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we're not going anywhere, and we are going to call it how it is. Whether changes need to be made, positives are going down. No matter what happens, we will break it down here at the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and joining the 62,000 strong at Dolphins today. All right, we did tease a second change that needed to be made, and we mentioned it a little bit on yesterday's show with Bradley Chubb's injury status, but Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator of Miami, needs to blitz more if he wants this defense to become better and get off the field more often, because the stats are not pleasing to the eye when you're talking about this Dolphins pass rush. They are second worst in football in terms of total sacks, 9 on the year in 7 games. That's not good. They didn't have a sack this past week against Arizona. They're tied for 28th in pressures. They're tied for 21st, or they're just 21st in hurries. Now the percentages kind of do them a favor because they have played one less game than most teams, so the percentages are favorable, but they're still not in the top 10, and they're exactly halfway in terms of pressure percentage. It has not been good. And the change that I'd like to see, and we talked about it, Anthony Weaver just needs to blitz more, because this 4-man front that they've been running aren't getting home. And I give Weaver credit. He has brought exotic, I wouldn't say blitzes, but pass rushes in terms of dropping Calais Campbell out, dropping Emmanuel Ogbah in coverage, and blitzing from the slot, blitzing from the safety position. But he's only bringing 4, so it doesn't classify as a blitz. It's an exotic way to bring pass rushers. But I think instead of doing that exotically and bringing 4, bringing 5 guys, you need to get closer to that 5 consistently, 6 consistently, generate those blitz packages, because you aren't getting home with your guys right now. And I know Jalen Phillips is hurt. You didn't anticipate him being out for the year. Bradley Chubb has not returned yet. But the Dolphins only blitz 23.4% of the time. That is exactly 16th in the National Football League, halfway there. They need to be in the top 10. I would argue they need to be in the top 5 of blitz percentage, because they can't get home on regular pass rush packages. They need to bring more guys. The secondary has done a good job for most of the season. I trust them to defend for 2 to 3 seconds on the back end, which that is all you're going to give opposing quarterbacks when you bring pressure. Ramsey, Fuller have been good. Javon Holland, when he comes back, has been good. I know the linebackers and Poyer have struggled, but you have to choose one poison here. You either bring pressure and trust your guys to defend in man-to-man situations or a little zone blitz, or you don't blitz and you let Kylar Murray and company, which we just saw this past weekend, sit back there and run around for 4 to 5 seconds and give your secondary no chance to hold up that long. You have to change something. And I think blitzing more is the solution here for the Miami Dolphins. We gave you 2 things that the Dolphins need to change heading into Week 9 against the Buffalo Bills. What is one change that you think the Dolphins need to make? You can choose your own. You can choose one of the 2 choices I had on today's show. But let me know the one thing Miami needs to change down in the comment section. And make sure you are following me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. I've talked quite a bit on Twitter about the Dolphins in terms of news, rumors, what needs to be changed. If you want more and more wall-to-wall coverage on the Miami Dolphins, our Twitter is a great place to find it. Go follow me over there at Nic_Rohloff.